Hey cats, it's your midsole man Eddbud here. Today I've got for you my max cushion running shoe update for 2024. I'm going to take a look at some of the best max cushion options that I've tried out over the last few months. I think lots of people are targeting like a half or full marathon at the moment. Training's in full swing, rotations are being sharpened, and those longer runs are becoming more important than ever. Matching up some of the models against the recently released Asics Gel Nimbus 26 today. Which of these are going to facilitate the maximum amount of athletic action? Let's take a closer look. Welcome to my max cushion update for 2024. If you're enjoying the channel, hit that free of charge subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up like. I really appreciate it. Danke schön. I think we just hit 47,000 subscribers, so thank you to every single one of you. Recently released Asics Gel Nimbus 26 in hand, and I've had it on foot. Very consistent cushion in this one. I've tried out lots of max cushion models and some of them perhaps aren't the best in terms of stability, but across the footbed the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, not the squashiest, but it certainly is very resilient. I think this one's going to appeal perhaps more to those heavier set runners who want that surface area and resilience right across the bottom of the foot, with perhaps less worry about having the lightest, most featherweight shoe. I think the improved outsole on the Nimbus 26 is no doubt going to attract some more runners. I think if you enjoyed the 25 but just found that the traction was a little bit lacking at times, certainly in wet weather or on smooth surfaces, then you're going to really love the 26. Asics just haven't made changes for change's sake. Just improved things very, very subtly. So how does it compare against some of the other models? Against the Triumph 21 first from Saucony. There's definitely a little bit less weight in the Saucony shoe, it has to be said, and a slightly more conventional eyelet system here in the upper. A little less padded as well in most areas. There's still some reasonable tongue padding here, though quite a bit less than the Nimbus 26 around the heel. I don't think we've quite got the same stack here either, especially in the rear section of the shoe, just a touch lower, and I do think that the pallet-based foam that they've used here in the midsole is a little bit more energetic, lively and propulsive. The drop is higher too. I think there's about a 10mm drop in the Triumph 21 compared up to about 8mm in the Nimbus 26. We have a slightly more versatile model here in the Triumph 21. I think you could take this out for a whole multitude of different runs. Just feels a little bit more up for it than some of the other shoes I'm going to talk about in today's video. Just a wider pace range on this one. Between the two shoes though, I would say that the grip on the Nimbus 26 is actually better than the Triumph now. The ridges are quite shallow actually in the Triumph 21. I'm not sure what rubber's used in the 26. But it is really improved on the last version. Though we have quite a lot of exposed midsole in both shoes, I think the cutout here in the heel section of the 21 does mean that it's not quite as stable as the Nimbus. Though certainly one of my favourites, this one, just down to the versatility of the shoe. Got another Saucony shoe this time round. It's the Ride 17. I think this one's just been released. It certainly is a very bright colourway, it has to be said. I'm having trouble keeping this one clean. It's a bouncier ride certainly than the Nimbus 26 in this Power Run Plus shoe, and the upper is a little bit more traditional I suppose than the sort of knit based upper that we have going through the middle of the Nimbus 26. I think price wise the Ride 17's being positioned as a sort of more budget model. I say that tongue in cheek really, because running shoes do seem to be only going in one direction price wise. More a daily style cruiser, whereas I think with the maximally cushioned option in the Nimbus 26 it's perhaps more for your very easy days or your longer runs. I think you can probably use the Ride 17 for almost anything really. No crazy plates or anything here, just lots of foam. Now it is similar on first look as the Triumph 21, but there are some subtle differences here I've covered in the recent review. Just a more fancy free option I suppose, a little less weight and bulk than the Nimbus 26. Certainly nowhere near the amount of heel padding as well. I do like the XT900 rubber that we've got here in the Saucony shoe. It's hardy and resilient. I just feel I'm getting a little bit more grip out of this one than the Triumph. Though I have read that there are a number of viewers disappointed in the Ride 17, it gaining a little bit of weight. I think for daily use it's not all that important really how light a shoe is. I don't think you can have it all though in a running shoe. It's very seldom you can. It is a little bit lighter than the Nimbus though, and that could be make or break for some runners. Neither I'd suggest it for sort of those out and out pace sort of sessions that you might be running in your training, though that's probably not why you're here watching this video right now. I do feel the fit though and lockdown of the Nimbus 26 does have a slight edge over the Ride 17. Just feels a little bit easier to get a good lockdown over the top of the foot. I had to tinker a little bit with the Ride 17. I think that's down to the lace loops that we've got here rather than standard eyelets. I think it's a good option, but perhaps more of a daily style cushion here, even though we do have some quite considerable stack. So yeah, the Ride 17, I think this one's just been released. Cost wise though, of course this one's coming in quite a bit cheaper than the Nimbus 26. So a little bit different now, the on-cloud ECLIPSE. Very different here. It's a rolling motion certainly, which I think is a little bit down to those cloud tech pods that we have. It's perhaps the most striking and intriguing tech that I've seen in many years, in fact. It genuinely works as well. I was a little bit perplexed as to whether it would be any good, but it does feel great. Quite a pleasant sensation underfoot and surprisingly consistent too. I do find the cloud tech pods sometimes in on shoes can be a little bit firm. They don't feel quite as stable as the technology we have here. The type of cushion between these two shoes though couldn't be any more different. A denser, firmer, more stable cushion here in the Nimbus 26, though there's like a hollower sort of squash that you feel underfoot as you go through the gait cycle in the Cloud ECLIPSE. One bugbear perhaps in this shoe is the quite considerable cinching of the laces that I've had to do to get a good lockdown. Does feel like quite a generous shoe overall as well in terms of the upper. I think the Nimbus certainly has the advantage over the on shoe this time round from that perspective. I don't think everybody's going to like the firm outsole here that you've got. The rocker action of the shoe certainly is a hallmark of it, and the rubber here almost feels a little bit too firm. Something a little bit more malleable might be slightly more palatable. You do get that very familiar rock crushing sound as well from the plate here, or the speed board should I say, when you hit some rocks or maybe even some coarse salt, because they've been gritting the roads and the pavements quite a bit recently. It really does crunch and crack, and it does feel a little bit precarious, I suppose. I do like the direction that On are going here though in terms of max cushion. It does feel genuinely quite unique, whereas I suppose we have something a little bit more traditional here in the Asics shoe. So if you like trying out new stuff, give the Cloud ECLIPSE a go. Brooks Ghost Max now. This is one shoe that really surprised me and I've been enjoying utilising. It's rather similar I guess to the Nimbus 26 in its approach, a slightly firmer stack and very similar dimensions. Perhaps not quite the same level of compression here or impact protection. I think perhaps if you are a heel striker, you will appreciate the pure gel that's in the rear section of the Asics shoe. Though this is a very worthy lower priced option. I think it's coming in at around about £140 here in the UK for a maxed out cushion shoe. That is a great price. The Nimbus just might be out of range for you, and that's where the Ghost Max comes in. I think the amount of heel stack that you've got here is ideal really for those entering into that sort of recovery or easier day shoe market. Perhaps if you've done some harder sessions in the last few days, and the Ghost Max feels really nice underfoot. I can see a lot of people picking this one up actually if you're perhaps doing retail, maybe if you're on your feet all day, it could be absolutely fantastic, a real foot saver. I think the stability is there, and there's the capacity to be used perhaps from the wider footed runners as well. I think Brooks have got some good top level shoes at the moment in terms of max cushion. The Ghost is great for those easier sessions, and you've got the Hyperion Max as well, easily matching some of Nike's models at a much lower price. Durability seems okay in this one, and I'd suggest that this is the closest match to the Nimbus 26 in today's video. A touch less midsole stack and heel to toe drop in the Brooks model, but it's very, very close between these two. I'd say if anything, the Brooks is actually a little bit more bottom heavy than the Nimbus 26. Just a quick extra one, the Invincible Run 3, that is a shoe I've sold on a while back. I'd say it's all about squash there in the swoosh shoe, similar weights and decent grip on the Nike, though even in the more stable version 3, because the version 1 and 2 I believe had a slightly different strobel sort of setup. That version 1 didn't have a strobel board, it was just the insole straight on top of the foam, and I still think that that is the best version of the Invincible Run. Just makes for an unstable beast for a lot of runners out there. I think some people will prefer the more consistent underfoot feel that you get in the Nimbus, and there's similar prices to the two shoes, so it's all down to how you like your cushion. If you want it squashy and a little bit more energetic, then the Invincible Run's probably worth a go. go, although this time round the lockdown and the consistency underfoot are just vastly superior in the Asics Gel Nimbus 26. What do you utilise for your long distance efforts or perhaps your easy recovery sort of runs? What's your max cushion go-to? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Quick musical interlude for you. Of course, we're just coming up on the sad anniversary of Buddy Holly's passing. Always gets me thinking about some of the songs that were written around that period, and it brings me back to Joe Meek, who'd received messages and songs even from Buddy Holly from the other side. Moving away from that a little bit though, I want to talk about a track by Heinz, which is called Just Like Eddie. It was like a tribute song to Eddie Cochran. Oh, I love this one. It's got a lot of the hallmarks of that Joe Meek sound once again. People sort of banging on things to create a really impactful rhythm, and I love Heinz's delivery as well. I quite like the fact that, you know, he came from down the road in Southampton. Really unique and characterful sort of delivery, nothing else quite like it. I like the whole very simple sentiment of the track as well, that, you know, Eddie Cochran was very much a idol to him and, you know, wanted to be just like Eddie. I think it's kind of cool. What's not to like as well? Eddie Cochran was super cool, playing those big orange Gretsch guitars. Nothing cooler than that. Again, the production here is just bonkers. It's very, very compressed and distorted, but exciting all the same. And that was kind of what Joe Meek was always going for, to get the most exciting music down onto tape. Go and check it out, people. Heinz with Just Like Eddie. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Help us to reach 1 million subscribers by hitting that subscribe button and also giving this video a thumbs up like. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you